of Real Estate Salesperson exam. I am going to be taking us through some practice problems this week, and as every week. And so, as several of you have already done, if you have any sections that you'd like for us to cover, please go ahead and drop that into the chat box. Looks like we've got law, financing, and property ownership. So we'll go ahead and hit those. Gianni, can you clarify which type of law do you want? License law or agency law? We'll start with that one. You can't say both. It's not fair to the rest of the group. Gianni, if you can hear me, I need to know what type of law you want to do, bud. Licensing law, he says. All right, great. Let's go ahead and do license law. The way that we do this, for those of you who haven't joined us in a while, we are going to, I'm going to read the question and then the answers, and I just need you to put an A, B, C, or D in the chat box. If you have no idea what the question is talking about, and you're like, hey, this is really confusing to me, then go ahead and put a question mark in the chat box, and we will go from there. All right, question number one. From where does the real estate licensee get the 19 articles of the canon of ethics? Is that from the Ohio Association of Realtors, the Ohio Real Estate Commission, the Division of Real Estate, or the National Association of Realtors? All right, Gianni, you're replying directly to me, so if you can, please chat to everyone. So where does that come from? Go ahead and drop a letter in the chat box, or a question mark if you don't know. All right, got a couple B's and a couple D's. It is going to be B. And so the Association of Realtors provides a code of ethics. The code is from the National Association of Realtors. The canon of ethics is from the Ohio Real Estate Commission. And that is the one that violations to the canon of ethics can cost you your license. So we always say canons can hurt you. And so the commission is responsible for the canon. All right, if a broker dies and there are no other brokers in the firm, what is true? A, the superintendent may appoint an ancillary trustee with the approval of probate court. B, any salesperson associated with the firm may take over the deceased broker's listings. C, the Ohio Real Estate Commission may appoint an ancillary trustee. Or D, the Department of Commerce will appoint an ancillary trustee. What happens when a broker dies and there are no other brokers in the firm? All right, everyone's got A in the chat, and A is correct. So couple things here. If the broker dies and there are other brokers, principal brokers with the firm, the license can transfer, or all the listings and everything will transfer to the debt. If the broker dies and there isn't one, then it's going to involve probate court. So when you see death, think probate. You see probate, think death. And then the superintendent appoints the ancillary trustee. If the broker's license is simply revoked, right? They do something, they break the law, and the license is revoked, then the superintendent will appoint with the approval of the Ohio Real Estate Commission. So the superintendent is going to need approval for whatever appointment is put into place there. but when the broker dies, it's going to be the approval of the probate court. Which of the following grants the broker the exclusive right to represent the purchaser in the purchase or lease of a property? Is it A, the exclusive purchaser agency agreement, B, the agency disclosure agreement, C, the buyer listing agreement, or D, the consumer guide to agency relationships? All right. Looks like A's are coming into the chat box again, and that is again correct. So when you have buyers, be sure that you are getting them to sign an exclusive purchaser agency agreement. That's like a listing agreement, but for the buyer, right? And that obligates the buyer to work with you. And so if there's ever any challenge to procuring cause as to whose realtor which buyer is, if you have one of those and you've maintained a consistent conversation around real estate with that individual, then that is your client. Which of the following is a violation of license law? A, hire other salespeople from different brokerages. B, offer a free CMA to a landowner. C, offer training to pre-licensed agents. Or D, having acted as a broker without authority, impeded the ability of a principal broker to perform any of the duties that impeded the ability of a management level licensee to perform licensee duties. Yeah, this one's going to be D. So, those are the key tenets, right? You cannot act as a broker without authority. You can impede a broker's ability to perform their duties, nor can you interfere with any management level licensee to perform their duties. Question number 5, under Ohio law, every listing agency agreement must have A, a statement defining the practice known as blockbusting and stating that it's illegal. B, the company policy for brokerage and dual agency. C, a diversity in housing logo. Or D, a mandatory extension clause. All right, looks like we have a number of C's in there, and the answer is actually A. Each written agreement must contain an expiration date. Oops, sorry, letting a couple people in here. Must contain an expiration date and a statement that it is illegal to every written agency agreement has to have an expiration date and a statement that it's legal to refuse to sell or rent a property because of race, color, etc. A statement about blockbusting must also be contained. So it needs to say, hey, you cannot refuse to sell or rent to somebody who is of a certain race or color or creed. And you cannot, it needs to define and state that it's illegal to participate in blockbusting so that your clients are aware of what that is and that you shouldn't be doing it. And then it has to have an expiration date. Upon the death of a licensed broker, what might occur? A, the superintendent appoints an ancillary trustee. B, the sales agent takes over the broker's listings. C, a broker within the entity of the deceased brokerage takes over the listings. Or D, the Ohio Real Estate Commission appoints an ancillary trustee. All right, C's in the chat box, and that is going to be correct. Now, this is a nuanced way that the question is presented. You may have been tempted to say A, but that needs the superintendent cannot solely define or appoint that ancillary trustee. It's going to require some sort of approval from either a probate court or the Commission of Real Estate. So what might occur, C is what might occur. All right, what lien automatically attaches to a commercial property to secure a broker's commission? Is it A, an attachment lien, B, a broker lien, C, a mechanics lien, or D, a judgment lien? All right, looks like we got an A, a B, a C. Seeing two B's. Go with B, and it is a broker lien. Broker lien law allows this to attach for commercial properties, particularly commercial leases, because those are paid out of the rent that is escrowed, or not. It is not escrowed, so that lien exists to ensure that people are paid. All right, question number 8. John, a real estate agent, has been found guilty of violating the Federal Fair Housing Act for a third time. What's most likely to occur? A, fine minimum of $2,500. B, license suspended. C, license revoked. Or D, license suspended for 2 months. All right, seeing the C's, that is correct. Your third offense, guaranteed revocation. First offense, suspension, or you can have suspension. Second offense requires suspension or could be revocation. Third offense is revocation. No minimum fines. Question number 9. The principal broker has the following duties except A, preparing listing agreements, B, complying with office requirements, C, comply with fair housing documentation and requirements, or D, oversee and direct operations. All right, all the A's, that's right. They're not on there preparing listing agreements, but they are doing everything else. All right. Question number 10. What type of property is encompassed by Ohio's broker lien law? A, single family, B, 4-family, C, commercial, or D, vacant property. All right, seeing the C's flow back in. This is just the same question we heard previously, asked a different way. Question number 11. Sorry, I gotta let some more folks in here. Question number 11 is, what would you expect an Ohio property manager to do? A, convert apartments into condominiums. B, prepare a land contract. C, initiate actions for rent recovery. Or D, prepare lease agreements. All right, so key word here and a key distinction is going to be the word prepare. So prepare in this sense means to create. And from a legal standpoint, the creation of leases or land contracts is going to be viewed as the unauthorized practice of law. Initiating actions for rent recovery is something that a property manager could do. The other things they cannot do. Question number 12. The rate of commission for residential properties is set by A, the broker and the principal, B, the Ohio Real Estate Commission, C, the Ohio Real Estate Board, or D, the multiple listing group. A is correct, the broker and the principal. So the terms, this is very important, the terms of a listing agreement are, including the pay, are set by the broker and the person, the party selling the property. There is no, broad-based, everybody charges X or Y or Z. Question number 13, who does an agent need to notify of the change of his or her home address? Is it A, the commission, B, the division, C, the board of realtors, or D, the broker? All right, seeing some A's, B's, and D's and a question mark. Your home address should be on accurate and on file with the division. The division is going to handle anything related to licenses, transfers, and status changes. And that status change could be your home address, right? Because you will receive mail from the Ohio Division of Real Estate notifying you of expectations to deliver certain, renew your license or pay this and pay that. And these are things that we'll remind you of as a company as well. But where you have as your home address is where they will send official correspondence. Under Ohio law, a non-licensed employee of a property manager may A, negotiate a lease between the landlord and tenant, B, accept payments of pre-negotiated rent, C, prepare lease agreements, or D, explain the difference between periodic tenancy and month-to-month tenancy. All right, lots of B's coming in here, and that is correct. The non-licensed piece further limits what somebody's able to do on the property management front. Licensed people could negotiate leases. Licensed people can explain the difference between periodic and month-to-month tenancy. Unlicensed individuals can only accept payment and due process. Question number 15, a homeowner is selling his house without the aid of a broker. The homeowner advertises that he will give anyone who buys his home 2 free airline tickets to anywhere in the continental United States. What is true? A, this inducement is a violation of the Ohio Revised Code licensing law. B, the inducement must be disclosed in the sales contract. C, this is perfectly legitimate and does not need to be disclosed. Or D, a seller is not authorized to give an inducement of any manner to unrepresented buyers. All right, seeing some B's and C's. So let's explore this a little bit further. Let's see, it's pretty well split down the middle. Does anyone want to explain why they felt it was C instead of B? So Valentine says there was no agent involved, right? And so that kind of knocks out the licensing law piece. Selling the home without the aid of a broker, no agent. And so we have somebody say there's no agent, but disclosure is needed to be fair to each prospective buyer. All right. Well, let's see what the count is. 1, 2, 3, 4 for B and 3 for C. So we're going to go with B. Valentine would have won the day on this one. Since there is no sales agent or broker involved here, no disclosure is necessary on behalf of the homeowner. You may still want that, right? But it's not necessary because somebody's ability to induce the sale of a home, their own home, without the aid of a broker, as long as it's not through creating duress, right? You can't hold somebody hostage and then make them sign a contract. But you don't have to, because they're actually not bound by a licensing law to disclose their inducements. So a very key point there is without the aid of a broker. Now, this is the best question wording, and you should read this to be on either side, right? So there's no broker involved with the transaction. Question number 16, a sales agent states in his advertisements that he will provide a free room addition to anyone who buys one of his listings. All right, what is true here? This is unethical because he can't offer an inducement. This is unethical. B, this is unethical because you're not allowed to offer the improvement of real estate as an inducement. C, this is legal as long as it's noted in the sales contract. Or D, this is legal as long as the inducement is disclosed between the buyer and seller. All right, so we've got some A's, B's, and C's. So we've got some beliefs that it's unethical. It's unethical for a couple of different reasons. And then Valentine's saying, based on these terms, it just needs to be disclosed in the sales contract. So we're gonna follow Valentine's hot hand here, see if he can go 2 for 2 on disclosure requirements. And he's right. You're not allowed to offer real estate or like actual real estate or improvements to real estate as a lottery prize, right? So, hey, anyone who buys the house today or anyone who writes an offer today or whatever, it's like comes to my open house. If you buy it because it came to my open house, you'll get your name will be entered into a raffle. So you can offer inducements. You could offer the plane tickets. You could offer an improvement, new carpets, right? Like what you'll typically see is like, hey, listen, they'll redo the flooring. They'll, if you buy at this price, like they'll make the investment into the property to do X or Y or Z. That's common. Maybe not as common today based on it being such a strong seller's market, but those things need to be defined and noted in the sales contract. And that's the mechanism that you're going to use to disclose to the buyer and seller, right? And so D, is accurate, but it has to be, you are disclosing to the buyer and seller in the sales contract. That's where the disclosure has to take place. A broker offers a seller a free trip to Hawaii for a property listing. What is true? A, the buyer and seller must agree to the inducement. B, the broker must disclose this to any potential buyer. C, it must be disclosed in the listing contract. Or D, the broker must disclose in the real estate contract. All right, we've got A's, C's, and D's. So let's think about how this would all come together. Does the buyer care? Does it impact the buyer's decision to buy the property based on why the seller decided to sell it? Right? Does there need to be a disclosure because they wanted the free trip to Hawaii? No. They're going to buy that house irrespective of that inducement. But it is important that it be documented and disclosed in the listing agreement between the broker and the seller that that's what's taking place. So if there is an inducement to list, then that has to be defined in the listing agreement. If there's an inducement to purchase, right, then that has to be defined in the sales contract. So it's whatever action you are inducing or incentivizing, that's the one that, whether it be listing or buying. If it's listing, it's listing contract. If it's buying, it's purchase agreement. 18, a broker loses her license and there is no licensed broker to take over the broker's business. In this case, A, sales agents can take over the listing. B, B, a sales agent may take over only the listings that are in contract. C, an ancillary trustee may be appointed by the superintendent. Or D, the probate court is going to step in and appoint an ancillary trustee. So for those of you who put D, I'm going to remind you that when you see probate means death. No one died here. And so with that new consideration, what do you think the next answer? What do you think the right answer would be? So C is going to be the right answer here. They're going to be appointed by the superintendent, approved by the commission, and then they will conclude the broker's business. Question number 19, the principal broker has all the following duties except, we already had this question. Question number 20, a licensed property manager is negotiating on behalf of a commercial landlord. The property to be rented is a retail space in a soon to open mall. What type of lease would you expect the property manager to negotiate? A net lease, a land lease, a gross lease, or D, a percentage lease? All right, it's going to be D. When you see retail leases, think percentage leases, right? What's the percentage of the gross revenue, and then they'll base it off of that. The more they sell, the more they make. All right, let's scroll back up to the top here real quick. We said financing and then property ownership. So let's go pop into financing here at the bottom of the hour. And let's see what we've got here. Question number 1, which is the right of the defaulting borrower in a title theory state where the borrower is able to redeem the property after the sale is confirmed? A, the borrower has no right of redemption. B, equitable redemption. C, quiet title. Or D, statutory redemption. All right, so we feel like it's definitely a redemption opportunity. And so it's either equitable or statutory. And it looks like we have got more B's than D's, so we'll go with that, but it is going to be D. So statutory redemption is the right of a defaulting borrower in a title theory state where the borrower is able to redeem the property. Equitable redemption is before the sale is confirmed, right? So think about this one. The property hasn't sold, right? So all things held equal, the property is redeemed, right? So like that's the best way to remember it is, but if the sale has confirmed, think confirmed sale equals statutory, right? If you need a mnemonic device there. But if the sale has been confirmed, then it has to go through statutory redemption. If the sale has not been confirmed, it's equitable redemption. In a foreclosure sale, the debtor, A, is free to future responsibility regarding the liens. B, may be the successful bidder and be awarded the title of the property. C, advertises to secure exposure for the sale. Or D, may not bid on the property. All right, looks like the B's have it, and that's correct. Anyone may bid at a sheriff's sale foreclosure auction. Property doesn't bring enough sales to cover it, though. The liens are the debtor isn't freed from that, but they will and they will remain liable. A GI loan is the same as an A, VA loan, B, an FHA loan, C, a co-insured loan, or D, a conventional loan. Yes, all of the A's flooding the chat box. For a GI loan is the equivalent of a VA loan. Interim financing used during construction of a building followed by a long-term financing is called A, a bridge loan, B, an FHA mortgage, C, a conventional loan, or D, a construction loan. All right, looks like we got A's and D's in the chat. More D's than A's though, and we'll go with that. And that is correct. That is exactly what a what you would do, what a construction loan does. Excuse me. So it is interim financing while it's built, and then it converts to long-term financing after the house is occupied. A bridge loan is something that you would use if you wanted to buy a property before you sell your existing property, right? So some of that is, some of those are common today. Which, because it'll allow you to leverage equity in your existing house to buy your next location before selling, because if you sell and cannot buy, then you are out of the home. Or if you are trying to buy with the contingency of a sale, it weakens the offer. So bridge loans bridge the gap between buying and selling, or selling to buy. The construction loan is for construction. A buyer agrees to purchase a real property by making monthly payments to the seller and receiving the deed at a later point in time. Such an agreement is known as A, land installment contract, B, a certificate of sale, C, a short-term or straight-term mortgage, or D, a construction loan. And all of you put A's in there, and that's correct. That is exactly what a land installment contract is. You pay installments over time while you can occupy the land, but the title and deed do not transfer until the end, until it's satisfied. After buying property at a sheriff's foreclosure auction, which document would a person receive to prove that he is entitled to the deed upon the confirmation of the sale? A, a certificate of no defense, B, a certificate of title, C, a certificate of sale, or D, a certificate of habitation. All right, looks like we are pretty well split between certificate of title and certificate of sale. 1, 2, 3 B's, 1, 2, 3, 4 C's. The C's have it by a nose, and that is correct. So the certificate of sale shows up and entitles the buyer to a deed upon the confirmation of the sale by the court, right? So you get the certificate of sale. Hey, this property was sold to you. But until it is confirmed, until the sale is confirmed, there's that opportunity for equitable right of redemption. Each January, a homeowner receives an estoppel certificate from his bank indicating the A, amount of real property taxes the borrower will owe in the upcoming year, B, the amount of principal remaining on the mortgage, C, the amount of taxes and insurance held in escrow, or D, the closing cost incurred to sell the home. And it looks like we loaded up with B's here, and that is going to, that's going to be correct. That is exactly what an estoppel certificate is, also known as certificate of no defense. How many square feet in 2 acres? I promise you guys, for those of you who've taken the test, I'm sure you had a question about this. It's just, you've got to know. A, 90,000, B, 75,000, C, 65,000, or D, 87,120. All right, the D's have it, and that is correct. 43,560 square feet in an acre, whatever you got to do to remember that, that's what it's going to be every time. A homeowner receives a duplicate 1099 form from the bank showing how much interest has been paid over the year and what principal amount is remaining on the mortgage. This document is known as an A, certificate of title, B, certificate of sale, C, certificate of habitation, or as you all put in the chat box, D, the estoppel certificate. Question number 10. Which loan is not guaranteed or insured by a government agency? Is it A, the FHA loan, B, an amortized loan, C, a VA loan, or D, a conventional loan? All right, the D's are there, and that is correct. FHA is insured by the federal government, VA insured by the federal government. Amortized loan, which all of these very likely are, is just a way to define the payoff, and that you pay a portion of the principal and the interest each round. So conventional loans are not guaranteed by the government, which means that when you go to get a loan from PNC or Cross Country Mortgage or whomever you use, you will be in a position to, those are not backed by the federal government. All right. And then we also wanted to cover tonight property ownership. All right, property ownership. Now, right at the top. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. All right. The heirs of an estate are selling their deceased father's home. They remove a bedroom set, an organ bench that matches a built-in organ, a television, and a various famous paintings. Which would be considered real property, meaning not personal property, meaning a part of the home? Is it A, the bedroom set, B, the organ bench, C, the television set, or D, the famous paintings? B is correct. Because the organ is built in, it is a fixture, and because that bench belongs to that fixture, it should remain as well. Think about like keys to the house or your garage door opener would be things that would qualify in the same way. Wayne grants Brent permission to use Wayne's property to fish on one hot summer day. This is referred to as A, an easement, B, encroachment, C, a license, or D, an encumbrance. C is correct because it is a limited amount of time. They're defining it as one day. Then that is going to create a license. Permission to use the land, which is revocable at any time, is a license, versus an encumbrance, which is irrevocable. All right, the legal description of a property based on points of beginning, distances, directions, and degrees is known as A, recorded plat of subdivision, B, meets and bounds, C, government rectangular survey, or D, lot and block. Meets and bounds is correct. Question number 4. Which would serve as evidence of a shareholder's exclusive right of possession of property owned by a shareholders corporation? A, a deed, B, a net lease, C, a proprietary lease, or D, a gross lease. All right, C and the C's flood the chat box. That is correct. Net lease and gross leases are leasehold estates. Those are just very common leases. Deeds convey legal title. So in this case, the thing you're looking for is a proprietary lease. Question number 5. An owner of real estate sold the same parcel of land to 2 different buyers at the same time. When both the buyers meet at the property, they discover they both have recorded deeds for the property. Which type of lawsuit will they file to determine who has title? A, actions to recover, B, civil rights, C, eviction, or D, quiet title? Lots of A's in the chat box, and it's D, quiet title. So quiet title is is where there's a lawsuit to determine who actually has the title, right? So if there's a break in the chain of title, quiet title action can be required. Action to recover is if a qualification of the deed has been violated, right? Like you can have this property as long as it never is used as a church. And then you start using it as a church. Well, because that qualification and conditions in the deed, the person who sold the property with that condition could file action to recover to reclaim the property because its conditions were not followed. Quiet title action quiets any of the issues involved with a chain of title, which means they determine who is the recorded owner and settle that. When an interest in real property is a remainder interest, A, the title goes to someone at the end of a life estate. B, the life tenant gets legal title. C, a grantor gets the title back at the end of the life estate. Or D, a grantor is conveying legal title to the grantee. A is correct. So the life estate, the remainder interest would be, hey, I'm going to buy this property and move my parents into it, and it's going to be their property for the rest of their lives, and then afterwards it's going to transfer back to me. All right, what is considered real property? Tenants' fixtures, light fixtures, emblements, or area rugs over hardwood floor? What one of those is going to be real property? All right, B's are in the chat, and that is correct. Light fixtures are considered part of the home. Part of the home. And if you're wondering what implements are, they're tenants' crops, and those are allowed to, which they are allowed to remove. They're allowed to harvest post-transaction. Question number 8, to find out whether there is an encroachment on the property, a person should should purchase A, survey, B, homeowner's insurance, C, title insurance, or D, a mortgage. All right, A's have it, and that is right. That's what a survey would determine. They would do a survey of the property and determine whether or not there are any encroachments from any adjacent properties or buildings. Question number 9. An inquiry notice is A, what a person can actually see, B, what the real estate broker says, C, the circumstances exist that should be investigated, or B, a matter of public record. All right, seeing a couple A's, a C. Let's go with A, as that is the majority, and it is C. Actual notice is what a person sees or is told. Constructive notice is a matter of public record, and inquiry notice is when circumstances alert the person that there's a problem that should be investigated. So actual notice, what you see in here. constructive notice, what's in public record, inquiry notice, something that should, circumstances that should alert you that you should dig in further. The highest and best form of ownership in real property is called A, fee simple absolute, B, a life estate, C, fee tail, or D, fee simple defeasible. Yes, you are all very correct with A, fee simple absolute. Fee simple absolute. All right, let's pop back here to the main stage, and we will talk a little bit about and it's been a couple weeks since I've shared the information, but I know you guys are studying on your own. I know you're working hard to get this thing behind you. And I want to share once again let's just stop the share so you don't have to stare at that screen. I want to share once again what is the breakdown of the state and national exam for the order of the questions and what's going to count the most. So I'm going to put that in the chat box right now. If you guys want to copy it and grab it out of there. You can see really high value places to spend your time: contracts, practice of real estate, principles of agency, and financing. Those are going to make up just over 50% of all questions on the exam. And then for the state, license, law, and brokerage relationships are going to be your two target-rich environments when you're studying. So for anybody who's on the call, if you have your exam scheduled, please shoot me the date so we can track that, be there for you. Wish you well. Cross our fingers, put good vibes in the ecosystem, and then from there, here's a couple test taking tips. I want to make sure that you guys know you're going in and you've got about 120 questions, and you got 3 hours and 15 minutes maybe. Really important to go in with a strategy that you are going to answer the questions that you know first, right? I always tell the story of my experience with my exam. The very first question, I had no idea what it was asking, right? And I could have sat there and stared at it for a day and wouldn't have figured it out. So I skipped it. And you can flag it and come back to it, right? So you don't have to answer them in order. And so I went to the next one, and it was the same. I didn't know what that one wanted. I was like, oh boy, this is not going to be good. So then I skipped that one, and then, okay, now I started to see questions that I knew, and I was answering the questions that I knew the answers to first. And what that's going to allow you to do is make sure that you go through the entire test and answer the ones that you get right. It's not about not getting any wrong. It's not about getting them all right. It's about getting enough right. So you give yourself the best opportunity in the exam if you go through and you answer the ones you're sure of first. The next thing that'll happen from there is it'll jog your memory. You'll see questions that'll be like, oh, now I remember. Okay, that's the thing that I couldn't remember earlier. So that when you come back the second time around, there's going to be some that you're like, oh, okay, I know this now. I know what this is asking now. Great. And you answer those. So you probably, get through 75 questions off the rip with the first round, another 15 to 20, maybe 25 in the second round. You'll get some back. And I mean, if you have to think too long about any questions, skip it, because the allocation of time at the end is going to be really important, because then you're going to have maybe an hour left for only 20 questions, right? And so now you've taken what is, a couple minutes, a minute and a half for each question. You've turned it into 3 to 4 minutes per question. Then you can really spend your time thinking and jogging your memory and trying to figure it out. And if you can't get to it, simply figure out which answers are wrong, right? Like if it's a question about probate and 2 of them don't have anything to do with death, then you know that those 2 answers are wrong. And 2 of them have something to do with death. Well, you just doubled your chances of getting it right? So you went from 4 options to 2 options, and then you guess. And if you can get 1 or 2 questions eliminated on each one, then, hey, for the last 20 questions, you might get 10 of them right. And then that could be the difference. You hope it doesn't come to that, but that's how you give yourself the best chance of getting the score that lets you get your license. The opportunities, beyond that are, make sure that you're spending your time, what time you have to study on the big ticket items. And then finally, anything that you're worried about needing to know, right? That you're like really focused on, like, man, I can't remember. Is it who has the canon, who has the code, how many people are on the commission, how many of them can be from the same political party? Just as soon as you get in there, you got your scratch paper, your pencil, and your calculator, just start writing down things that you don't want to forget, right? So in that way, you create like your own cheat sheet as soon as you get in there, which will allow you to engage fully, and then, and release that information out of your brain onto the paper. So those are just some of the best test taking tips that I would recommend. So excited to see that we've got a few this week. Valentine, good luck tomorrow. And then it looks like a couple on Saturday with Yumeris and Maliki. So good luck to all of you. If you all need anything from me in the meantime, please let me know. I'm very excited for you guys. Feel really good about that coming down the pike for you. So keep me posted. Win, lose, or draw, let me know right away. There's no judgment here. The number of people who have to take the test 3 or 4 times and end up as some of the top real estate agents in the state, I can promise you there are a lot of people out there like that are making great livings. We're just doing this test so that we can be compliant, and then we're going to teach you how to sell real estate. Sound good? That's all I've got for you tonight, guys. As I said, if you need anything ever, please let me know, and we'll see you back here next Monday. We're back on Mondays at 6 p.m. So look forward to seeing you there for this week or next week as well. All right. Have a good one, guys. Talk soon.